You know, a lot of people say WoW is like an addiction, and I have to agree. See, I've played WoW before I started smoking, and I'm still playing it after. And let me tell you, it's a lot worse. See, I've never smoked like a true Slav, aka a pack a day, nor have I ever raided Mythic Plus.
Whatever the fuck you do not stand next to other people! Who the fuck was that?
Or anything like that. So I think I can make a fairly apt, albeit equally casual comparison. For example, cigarettes aren't nearly as expensive as a monthly subscription to WoW is, and even if you don't have the money, you can't awkwardly ask a complete stranger for a fucking day of game time now, can you? Also, no one's ever looked cool playing WoW.
Okay, throw me some numbers.
50 DKP minus!
And believe me, the average rogue main smells way worse than any tobacco smoker. That said, WoW has always been a watershed game for me. Warcraft 3 was the first game I ever played on my own, but WoW was something completely different. There was a gaming club in the early 2000s near the street leading to my local park, with a big orc head from Warcraft 3 on the sign at the entrance. So I had the image of dedicated gamers, reflexively clicking dozens of mysterious icons at breakneck speeds, etched into my brain in a sort of mystical haze of childlike possibility. You see, I knew enough about the game through the lore of Warcraft and all the news surrounding it at the time, but not enough for me to know all that world building and scale was literally just a grinding simulator, and not the good kind. See, I was 4 when the game first launched, and as big brain as I am, I was stuck playing less complex baby games at that time like LEGO Star Wars and Civilization 3. This all changed when I was at a family friend's house once around 2008 and I saw their older kid play WoW. The single moment when I got proverbially hooked on that good shit was when this troll shaman was idling on the Echo Isles overlooking the massive desert of Durotar. Wow, I said, that's a huge map. There must be so many things you can do in this world. Then he zoomed out. Then he zoomed out again. And again. I think I peed my pants a little that day. And so, I of fucking course made an undead mage on his account and fucked around in Tirisfal for a couple of hours before my parents said it was time to go. I wouldn't actually play WoW again for like 4 years because when my dad found out the game had a subscription fee every month, he had the same reaction as if I told him I enjoyed playing League of Legends.
You faggot!
But, in due time, I too would craft in this world of war. I started playing on a trial maxed level 20 version of WoW during Cataclysm for the first time, made a human mage, reached the cap in Redridge, then wandered off north where I promptly got reminded I just entered the wrong neighborhood. Never touched that guy again since he was stuck in an endless loop of getting shat upon before he could activate his Hearthstone, but my mech's character was on an actual full account this time and I remember my times with him fondly. Flame Rage, he was called.
What the fuck?
When I was 12, I used to finish my extra work at school as fast as I could to rush to my home for half an hour and play a little before going back in the afternoon. Now that I'm saying this, I began to realize what a kind of a weird school system that was, but whatever. My house was 5 minutes anyways, and I ran surprisingly fast for a fat little shit. I played through Mists, which, may I take a second to mention, is the best WoW expansion. It had terrific continent, not a twisted crackhead archipelago that looks like the map designers dropped a plate on the ground and were like, fun and original raids, great questing, and multiple actually useful rewards for exploration. And all of that despite being the fact it was literally the China shilling expansion. I subsequently played through the rest of the expansions up until they killed Sergeris or whatever. I never actually finished the last raid in Legion, not for lack of trying mind you. I tanked with 10 frames per second on my overclocked little laptop. Also, here's a little trick for all my tanks out there. If you're playing a Night Elf and your raid is being especially bitchy and non-responsive, just aggro a boss and use your racial ability, then watch as his gaze moves over to the rest of your unaware party. Thing is, WoW was always more of a fun, collect armor, majestic scenery, interesting questing and event sort of thing for me. I never really played with friends and enjoyed competitive raiding and PvP.
How about a knife fight?
Hell, one of the main reasons I wanted to play the game in the first place was all the customizable armor. At the time, I was very angry at the games where you change a piece of clothing and it would stay the same on your character, but all these things are mostly in later versions of the game, because I never played vanilla. I only heard legends of it, stories told by ancient streamers of a lively world not ravaged by low subscription numbers and dumbed down content. I mean, I started playing right after the world got dragon fucked, and by the way, Blizz did it before Bethesda. I had hadn't played WoW in about 2 years. I always used to play annually in the summer when I had a month or two to kill anyway. A friend was playing Classic, and I admit I was always intrigued to find out what the glory days of this game were like. And so, here it was. An opportunity to finally relive this phenomenon gripping people all over the world that I never had the chance to experience for myself. I bought a subscription, and said friend immediately stopped playing, so fuck you Alex, I hope you see this, you commie son of a bitch. Nevertheless, here I was, and I decided to make a character so that by time traveling back to 2004, I could retroactively imbue myself into this Azerothian legacy. Since I was initially going to play with my friend, I had to pick alliance, but I'll give you the quick rundown of the horde races too. You have thinly veiled slavery allegory, crackhead, Native American, and Islander. Now, you can only play as the Jamaican subversion of this Islander race, but there's also irradiated and Filipino varieties in-game. The alliance, on the other hand, has the true Aryan race, the Night Elves, who have by far the hottest females in the entire game, and who continue to do so to this very day. All the goat fuckers can kindly frolic the fuck off. They also have the dwarves, who build literal Panzer IIIs, and the gnomes, who are supposedly really smart in game, but this illusion crumbles down when you realize that they Chernobyled their own capital city. I made a dwarf hunter because I never played one in retail, and also because I heard not complete fucking dog shit. As I started playing the game, I noticed, hang on, my pet isn't here. That's right, you earn your pet at level 10, and you can also run out of bullets for your gun, making you battle your prey with a rusty spoon someone in Ironforge drunkenly shoved up his ass one Wednesday night as a bet, then won another bet by selling it to you, you dumb son of a bitch. From the beginning I realized Classic WoW treated you like a poor Ukrainian farmer with a bootleg World War I rifle and an overgrown house cat, until eventually you ascend the ranks to become a feared local warlord. There are too many fine little details that differentiate old and new WoW in specific, odd ways to bore you with, but the real change is the whole feeling of this vast world in which you need to experience unique things at every corner of the map to get the full deal. So here's a few stories instead that better illustrate this point. When I was questing in Hillsbrad, the notorious PvP zone between South Shore and Tarn Mill, I was ganked, and I ganked, but one day I discovered this massive militia patrolling the road, ready to lynch any horde who dared cross the border. No one made them, mind you, but they all felt like it was their light-given right to flex on the geriatrics up north. I also bore witness to some recent additions to the game in 2020. This other time I saw a man get CBT'd into oblivion by Lady Jaina Proudmoore herself. God, I wish that were me. Oh yeah, there's also Forsaken concentration camps. We'll pretend that didn't happen. As I was writing this video, it actually occurred to me how the many different areas in WoW are based off of real-world locations. For example, the Eastern Kingdoms, to a large extent, are Central Europe. The forests, valleys, aforementioned concentration camps, with the Alps in the middle being Dunmoreau. Stranglethorn Vale is Southern Africa, with its lush jungle, gun runners, and war crimes. And Kalimdor obviously being Australia. Why, you ask, dear viewer? Well, isn't it obvious? It's a giant desert shithole filled with weirdly colored foes with weird accents and giant birds that will kill you. Another quest I had to undertake in Arathi required me to venture inside a troll cave and kill a bunch of shadow hunters. I have to point out here that the skill in Classic WoW didn't come from combining the best abilities in an optimized rotation or coming overly prepared. That was still there, sure, but the real skill was in kiting, aka moving mobs away from each other like you were the World Health Organization. And no, before you ask, I don't know what a Taiwan is.
What the fuck is that?
This is all well and good, especially if you're a hunter, but sometimes the mobs are so fucking packed together, you'd think this was all a conspiracy by China to make players frustrated to then increase sales of bootleg Guanzhou blood pressure lowering medication. But guess what? Blizzard wasn't owned by China in 2004, nor Activision for that matter. They just did it themselves! I'll just let these clips speak for themselves.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Oh hell no!
I have the high ground.
At the end of my wits, in my darkest hour, as I finally entered the cave, ready to beat Plato's head to a pulp, I saw my knight in shining armor, Millie Kilili Vanilli, who graciously helped me retrieve my knife from the Cho'Gath. All in all, this thrilling adventure, this perilous journey, rewarded me with a bar and a half of experience. You may have noticed that the game wasn't very easy back in its original state, that it was horribly unbalanced and lacked any form of convenience we have in modern MMOs. Well, yeah, that's true, and sometimes it's absolutely infuriating. But it's also the whole reason Classic is good in the first place. Let me explain. If the game wasn't this hard, the various small upgrades from all the different professions wouldn't have the significance they do. If gold wasn't incredibly sparse, me composing poetry to night elf babes passing by. Your skin is the color of twilight. Your hair smells like flowers so faint. Your voice is as silky as mage wave, and it makes my loins hotter than Ragnaros taint. Only to find out they're actually dudes who nevertheless enjoy my prose so much they toss me a gold coin wouldn't actually mean something, you dig? I don't remember who said this, probably Asmon Gold, but current WoW is a much better MMO game. Yet Classic WoW is a better fantasy world simulator. Yeah, I have to run around the entire continent to go to unmarked vendors for profession recipes and class trainers. That's what makes every nook and cranny of the world unique and worth visiting. Yeah, I got my first hat at level 33, that's why I'll remember it. Yeah, getting to Scarlet Monastery without an instance teleporter meant I had to go deep within Forsaken territory and evade high-level horde players who could one-shot me by running in and out of the different wings like a fucking Scooby-Doo episode. But if I had to sacrifice a little convenience for a little adventure, then so be it. After all, it is called World of Warcraft, not Series of Corridors of Warcraft. I was going to go more into detail about raiding and the whole big world questline of Onyxia splitting the King of Stormwind into Simp variant and Gym Cell variant, but sadly I couldn't hit max level because my subscription ran out, and as much fun as Classic is, I want to play other games this summer and oh yeah, get a job. But nevertheless, visiting old Azeroth has been an eye-opening experience for me, and the closest I'll probably get to reliving a time-long past where all the gamers and gamerettes were exploring this vast, unknown world of beauty, danger, and unironic perpetual race war. If you've made it to this point in the video, I take it you have a more than a passing interest in this channel, so consider subscribing or even supporting me on Patreon, or the Bilgewater Cartel will break my kneecaps and force me to play a female dwarf for their amusement.